This tutorial is brought to you by Squarespace. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another Cinema 4D tutorial. Today we're going to be doing a text reveal, or that's what I called it anyway. If you haven't seen the video, I'll go ahead and provide a link down in the description. You guys can go check it out and you'll know exactly what we're going to be creating today. But anyways, I saw this this animation basically from another motion design artist by the name of Ben Watts. He just does motion graphics and VFX tutorials. And this was his intro, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I went into Cinema and tried to recreate it, and I thought the outcome was pretty nice. And there's also a lot to learn and a couple things I've never talked about in any of my tutorials, which I think will benefit you guys a lot. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up the scene file and just give a rough overview of basically what we're going to be doing. So basically right here, we're going to do some simple modeling. Basically, we're going to model these cubes here, and we're going to set up these boards here. We're going to set up the text. I'll go over what font I used. We'll go over some of the lighting and the materials briefly, and then I'll go ahead and show you how to set up depth of field in here and do depth of field multi-passes and all kinds of stuff. So, alright, so let's go ahead and open up a new project file. So let's go up to File, New, and we'll go ahead and start fresh here. So the first thing we're going to do is go up to MoGraph and go to Mode Text. And first things first, I went ahead and changed the depth from 20 to about 15. And then I changed the font to a font that I actually cannot pronounce, so just pay attention to what I choose in case you want to use this font. Let me find it real quick. Alright, here it is right here. So I chose a font that was pretty similar to what I saw in this video. I don't know if this was the exact font that he used. I have no idea, but it was pretty similar, so I went ahead and went with it. That's what it's called right down there. Can't pronounce that, but there you guys go if you want to use it. So I'm just going to type in text reveal here. And next thing we're going to do is actually go ahead and select the mode text up here and press C on the keyboard. And this is going to make this object editable, which means it's going to split up each letter into an individual piece. And basically what we're going to do is get rid of these three null objects here. Actually, let's go ahead and grab all of our letters and pull them out of the nulls, and then we'll get rid of all three of them just like that by highlighting and pressing delete. And now we have each bit of our letters here. So basically this is going to be our letters. So right now we can go ahead and start setting up what's going to be the boards or the back plate to these letters, I guess. So go ahead and go up here and grab a cube, and I'm going to size this up just a little bit, or scale it down actually. And the whole idea here is just to try to get the cube centered like that. So you want the text centered right on the cube. And I'm just going to kind of eye it. I'm not going to get real precise here. I'm just going to try to line this up here so I want in my top view just like that. And this isn't going to be perfect, but just something relatively close like that. And now what we need to do is actually go in, select the cube. We can press Alt on our keyboard and continue to hold that down while going up to MoGraph and going to MoGraph cloner, and that's automatically going to make the cube a child of the cloner. And basically what we're going to do here is, since we have, let's see, how many letters do we have here? 10 maybe. We're going to change the count to however many letters we have. So in this case we have 10, I believe. And go ahead and change the Y here from 50 to 0, and then we'll go ahead and play with the X and just drag these letters out. So there's just a tiny little gap in between. Drag the cubes out until there's a tiny little gap in between the cubes. So something along the lines of that, and really all we need to do now is just go in and align the text on these cubes. So I'm going to grab the letter L here and pull it over. And actually if we go into our front view, this may be easier to see, so I'm going to do that. And we're just going to try to line this up as best as we can. And we'll move A over here. And I may have cut this a little bit close. I don't know if I made this quite wide enough, but for the purpose of this tutorial, it'll be alright. And we're going to do the same for this one here, and just keep doing this for all the letters we have. So I'll go ahead and pause the video so I don't eat up too much time. Alright, so that didn't take too terribly long. So we basically almost got our main scene set up there. So that's pretty much it right there. You should have something similar to that. And what we're going to do now is go ahead and let's go ahead and click on the cloner and press C on our keyboard and make that editable as well. And what this is going to do is make each cube into an individual piece, because these need to be individually rotated. And basically what we're going to do is, to make this easier to keep track of, I'm going to rename each cube to the corresponding letters. So for cube 0, since this is the first one, I'm going to change this, rename that to just cube T. And I'm going to do this for the rest of them, just so this is easier to kind of visualize. Alright, and so once we have that done, now we can basically see which cube we need to parent these letters to. So for cube T, I'm going to drag and make that a child of this T here. And actually, before I do any of this, let me go ahead and pull all these cubes out of the null here, the cloner. So let's go ahead and drag that out and just highlight the cloner, press delete. And now we're going to go ahead and make each one of these letters a child of each cube, just like so. And this is so that these pieces will rotate together. All right. Okay, so basically, since we got that done, if we were to click on the first cube there and go to the rotate tool, and we go to rotate this piece, you'll see that obviously they all rotate together. So, and actually I think the width of these cubes may be a little bit too thick for my liking. So what I'm going to do is click on the first one here and press Command on each cube, so that we can affect all of these at once. And I'm going to adjust the Z depth. I'm going to bring that down just a tad to say maybe 28. And that means our text is going to be a little off. So let's just grab each one of those real quick. And whoops. Grab each one of those, go to the move tool, and we'll just drag this back like so. So nothing perfect, but you guys know what we're trying to do here. So once we have this set up, what we can do now is just highlight everything, press Alt G on our keyboard, and that's going to group everything to a null. And we can just call this letters. And basically, if we open this up, then we've got all of our stuff right here. So this will make it really easy to go back and animate when we're ready to do that. So let's just go ahead and finish up setting up our scene. So let's go up to the cube here, and this is going to be the top pieces. So I'm going to drag this up and drag this back like so, and we'll drag it over. And I'm going to go in my top view again. This just makes it a little bit easier to visualize on where I'm trying to set this up exactly. And basically I want, let's see, since we have two letters, let's go ahead and make the width of each one of these cubes about 2 spaces wide. So let me just drag this out a little bit more, try to line that up as best as I can. I don't want this tutorial to become too lengthy because I know I'm going to lose some of you guys. So alright, that should be good enough for now. And what I'm going to do now is go to the size Z, and I'm just going to make this a little bit thinner to say 84 centimeters there. And let's see, it's definitely a little bit too tall, so I'm going to bring down the size Y just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this back down in position like so. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to indent this a little bit, I guess, give some depth to this cube. So go ahead and press C on the cube to make this editable when it's highlighted. Go to the model mode here, and you're going to go ahead and select this first, or actually just press I on your keyboard, and you're going to get the extrude inner tool come up automatically, and just click and drag inward just a little bit, and you should have something that looks like that, something that looks similar to that. And what we need to do now is just press Command on our keyboard, hold that down, and then click on the move tool here and drag this in just a little bit. And you can see that that's going to add that nice little indentation there into our cube. And that's basically it. So what we need to do now is we can go ahead and put this into a cloner, just like we did with the letters. And let's go ahead and change this from the Y here from 0. And I should have set this up beforehand. But anyways, we're going to make the account 5. We're going to have 5 of these. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll do the bottom as well. So just a little bit of gap in between each one of those cubes. I'm going to go back to the model mode, select the move tool here, and we're going to move this back up and reposition it where it should be. So I'm going to go into my other views, drag this back, and we're going to drag this over. And I need to drag this up a little bit. Alright, so if we go ahead and look at that, maybe pull it back down just a little bit. Alright, so this is what we have, and I actually need to pull that forward just a little bit. Alright, so that's what we have there. This is going to be our top piece for this animation, and we're going to do the same for the bottom. And really this really serves no purpose other than just for aesthetics, I guess, just for something extra to look at while you're watching the animation. So what we can do now is actually just hold Command and click and drag and make a separate cloner, and then just drag this straight down like so. And then now we've got 2 of them, and we can name this this bottom one here bottom, and then we'll name the top one top. Alright, and we can just Alt-G, highlight that, and press Alt-G and put those into a null. So those are grouped together. And so basically this is it right here. I mean, we've got the scene set up. Now we just need to animate it, and we can go ahead and move on to playing around with everything else. But real quickly before we move on, I would like to take 1 minute to thank our sponsors, Squarespace, for helping to make this video possible. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store. It's simple and easy to use, has a beautiful design, drag and drop content, very responsive, and plans start at as little as $8 a month, and includes a free domain name if you sign up for a year. So go ahead and take a few minutes of your time and go check out Squarespace. They have a great customer service team that is willing to help you every step of the way. And since you, the viewer, are watching this video, they're hooking you up with a free trial and 10% off if you use the offer code SIC at checkout on any of their services. So go ahead and take a few minutes and go check them out, and always remember, a better web starts with your website. Alright guys, welcome back. So let's go ahead and continue on with this tutorial. So what we're going to do now is actually animate this. And this is pretty straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab each cube here. So select the first one and then hold Command, continue to hold Command and click on each one of these cubes to select all of them. So we're just going to go through and select all of these. We're going to go up to our Rotate tool and click on this red line, and while holding Shift and moving the mouse, we can rotate this exactly -90 degrees, like so. And what we're going to do at this point, on frame 0, we're going to press the keyframe button here, and we're going to go to frame 20, and make sure just our first cube here is selected. And on frame 20, go ahead and go to the pitch down here and change this from -90 to 0 degrees. And since we've made that change, we're going to want to keyframe that. And so now this is the simple animation that we have. And on frame 20, we're going to go ahead and go to the next letter here, which is E. And we're going to go ahead and automatically make a keyframe on frame 20 of E on -90. And then we're going to move to frame 40, and we're going to change this from -90 to 0 and keyframe that. And then we're going to go to the letter X here and do the same thing. So go ahead and keyframe it where it's at on frame 40. So we're doing this by 20 frame increments. So I'm going to go to frame 60 now for this one, and go ahead and change the pitch from -90 to 0 and keyframe that. So basically what we're doing here is what you can see right there. So this, as soon as this text comes down, then the next one comes down, and then as soon as that one comes down, then that one comes down. So it's kind of like a domino effect. And in order to keep this tutorial as short as possible, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I do all this. You guys know what we're doing. I don't want to eat up too much time here, so I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I just got done animating this. If we go ahead and take a look, this is what you should have if you did this correctly. It should play out to be something like that. And of course, spacing out these keyframes more than 20 frames apart is directly going to affect how long it takes each one of these pieces to rotate. So if you wanted this to play out longer, all you'd have to do is just adjust the increments here, or if you wanted it to play shorter, of course. So it's all up to you guys, of course. But yeah, that's basically our whole animation there. There you have it. So right now at this point, I think we can go ahead and set up our cameras, and we're going to be using multiple cameras in a single render. And I've already made a couple videos about how to do this, but of course I may have new viewers on this one that don't know how to do this. So I'll go ahead and cover it again in case you're one of those people. So what we're going to do is go up to the floor icon here and drop in a stage. Okay, and with our stage in our scene, let's go ahead and go to the render settings here, and let's change the width from 800 to 1280, and the height from 600 to 720. And this is going to put our final render in high definition. So this is it. So right now we're ready to go ahead and drop in our first camera. So go up there and click on that and get your first camera in your scene, and we'll rename that from camera to camera 1. And go ahead and click on that little dot there, make it turn white. That's going to indicate that we're looking through the lens of the camera. We're just going to find a good frame here to position this first camera. So let's go with something like that. Alright, that looks good. That'll work for our first frame, I think. If you need to, we can go in here and play around with the focal length here. So by adjusting this, you're going to get a more zoomed in look or a wide angle look. So I'm just going to leave that about 35. It's good enough. And let's see. All right, yeah, that'll work. Okay, so let's go to our stage here. Let's click and drag our camera 1 and drop it into this slot right here. And what we need to do is create a keyframe. So Command or Control left click on that dot there, and that'll create a keyframe for us. And we're going to go to frame 60. So once these first 3 letters pop up, we're going to switch angles. So on frame 60, let's go ahead and duplicate this camera. And we'll call this camera 2. And real quickly before I move on here, you may notice I added in a PSR update here. This is a PSR button. This will allow us to reset the position, scale, and rotation. So if you don't have this, you can right click up here, go to Customize Palettes, go to the name filter here and just type in PSR, and then just click and drag that onto the dock there, and you'll have that button up there. And this comes in handy for a lot of different things. So go back to the stage once we have our PSR button in there, and we're on frame 60 down here. Click and drag camera 1 over camera 2 there, and you're going to notice this dot changes from red to an orangish yellow color to indicate a keyframe needs to be made. So we're going to Command or Control left click on that, and now we can move camera 2 around and position it. And actually what I'm going to do is select camera 2 and click the PSR update button, and if I go into a different view here, you can see exactly what that did. That lines it up exactly with our text, and all we have to do is pull it up just a little bit and then pull it back here in our top view, and we'll be lined up looking straight on to the text. So what we can do now at this point is just drag it over to about right here or so, and we're basically going to animate this camera. So on frame 60 with camera 2 selected, just go ahead and press the keyframe button here, and we'll move forward. Let's see, let's play this out just a little bit. Alright, when the E comes down on frame 120, we're going to go ahead and slide this camera over to right about there and keyframe that. So if we play what we have, And let's go into our perspective view here. This is going to be our two camera angles that we have right now. So this one's static and doesn't move, and then it switches to that one and it looks like it's on a dolly, more or less. Okay, and on frame 120, once this stops, we're going to go up to the camera icon and drag and drop in our final camera. So rename this one to camera 3 and go back to our stage and click and drag camera 3 in here just like that, and command or control left click to create a keyframe. And then we're just going to position this camera where we want it. So I'm only going to be using 3 angles for this animation, and let's just do something along the lines of that, and it should play through just like that. And that is going to be our animation. So let's go ahead and take a look and we'll see what we have and make sure this is okay. Alright, so I'm liking that, and there we go. So that's it. It's only 200 frames long, and just so we can add a nice little fade transition here, I'll make it 250 frames long to give us some room to fade out. So this whole animation from start to finish is going to be 250 frames long. And one more time, that's what we have. And alright, so basically what we need to do now is, since this animation is going to be using depth of field, is we need to go into these cameras and adjust the depth of field. So select all 3 of these and change the DOF map front blur from checked off to checked on, and then go up to the top view here. And what we're going to do is bring in the end here for each one of these cameras. And actually we're going to bring that in just like that. We may need to go in for each one of these and adjust it manually, so let's go ahead and do that. So go to camera 1 here and bring this in, grab this middle dot here and bring this way in. Alright, and we want basically what's going to be behind all this is going to be out of focus. So we can put that somewhere like that, and then let's just bring this value way down, and you're going to see it right there. So these 2 points, these 2 lines here and these 2 lines, what's in between here is going to be in focus, more or less. Whatever's closest to this line here, which is directly affected by this value here, this is going to be more in focus. So we're just going to do something like that. So anything closest to this is going to be real in focus, and anything closer to this is going to be out of focus. So that's good enough for right now. I mean, I'm not going to be too picky about this. You guys can spend more time on this if you want to, but that should work for this right now. So that's good. Let's go to camera 2, and we're going to have to do the same thing for this as well. So let's zoom out here. Let's bring this in quite a bit, like so. And we're just going to keep doing that, and let's adjust this value as well. So bring that number down again, bring it way down, and we're going to do something like, let's make sure this is going to be in focus. So I need to pull this back even more. Alright, so just something like that. And then we'll go to camera 3 and do the same thing. So we're going to bring this way down, and then we need to bring this in as well to something along those lines. And let's go ahead and further adjust this to about something like that. Alright, so very rough. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on that, but that'll work. And we basically got our camera set up. We have our depth of field set up now, more or less, and our animation is complete. So really all there is to do now is to add some lighting into this, and then go ahead and texture, put materials on these objects. So real quick, let's go ahead and turn our stage off temporarily, and then check outside the camera here. And what we're going to do now is just go up to Window, Content Browser, go to the Free Material Pack here, and I actually made a video about this. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's on my channel. You can download it for free and you'll get these materials. We can use any of these materials we want. So if I wanted to use this one right here for the letters, just click and double click and drag that into our scene. And then I can apply it to each one of these letters and make sure I change the projection from UVW mapping to cubic. And I'm just going to do this for each one of these letters here. And actually, let's open up this null, and I'm just going to click on the texture tag and hold down Command and drag, and it'll apply it to each one of these letters. The same values and everything. So, whoops, messed up there. Alright, so just going to keep going here until we have this applied to every letter. And real quick, let's go into our render settings and add in some ambient occlusion. Now guys, I don't want to spend too much time texturing and setting up the lighting because this tutorial is already going to be way long enough as it is. So I'm just going to run through this very quickly. And if we give this a quick render preview, that's what we have. So nothing too fancy yet. But let's go ahead and make a material, or apply material to these boards here. Once again, I'm going to be using my material pack that I created. I'm going to be using this wooden texture. Let's go ahead and apply that to this first cube here. Change the projection from UVW to cubic. And do the same technique. So hold down Command, click and drag. And we can duplicate this texture tag to each one of these cubes. We're just going to keep going and give that a quick render preview and see what we got. And like I said, since I'm running through this isn't going to look near as pretty as the tutorial preview I put up, but there you guys go. So let's go ahead and drag in a area light, and let's see. Place this about right here. Change the shadow from none to shadow map soft, and go to the visibility tab, or the details tab here, and change the fall off from none to inverse square clamped. And then we can just adjust the fall off like that. And you can play around with some other stuff. Turn on surface caustics, whatever. We'll try that. And let's see what we have. I actually did not use any global illumination in this animation, yeah, we're definitely going to need some other lights in here because that is too dark. Casting shadows are too dark and stuff. So let's go ahead and click outside of this, and let's drag this area light. Let's rotate it and position it just like that. And we can even do a spotlight here for a secondary light and have it come in from the side. So it kind of sweeps across the text just like that. We can grab these rings here and make this wider. And let's give that a quick render preview. Like I said, guys, I'm not spending a whole lot of time on this, so this isn't going to look very pretty. But you guys get the idea. And it may be a little bit bright, and that's why our texture is being blown out a little bit. So what we could do is just go into the light here and adjust. Go to the General tab, bring down the brightness a little bit, like so. And what we can do now is just go ahead and texture these cubes. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to apply this same wooden material down here as well. I'm going to apply it to all those and change the projection from UVW mapping to cubic, and do the same for these down here. Do the same thing. Alright, so if we render that now, take a look at what we have. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Doesn't look too bad. And let's make sure we turn our stage back on so we have all our multiple camera angles in here. And see how this last frame here looks, if it's a little bit too dark, which it may be. Alright, so that's good enough. I used some different lights in the original render, and your lighting is definitely going to play a big part in how well this looks. And like I said, since I'm rushing through this, because I don't want to spend too much time on it, because this tutorial is already going to be way long enough. So anyways, guys, feel free to do whatever you want here. You can use any materials you want, any lighting, whatever. But basically that's that, and really all there is to do now is to go up to the render settings here and go to the save and change the format from TIFF to PNG. We're going to save this as a PNG sequence, so you want to make sure that you have a program that can handle PNG sequences such as After Effects. And in case you want to add in a different background besides just leaving it black here, you can check on Alpha Channel, and that'll allow us to add in whatever we want here in the background in post-production. So click on Multipass and click on Depth, and basically once that's in there, we're good to go. So let's go ahead and just check on Multipass, and then we're going to go to Save, and we're going to choose where we want to save this. So the regular image, we're going to go to File, click these three dots here, go to Desktop, we're going to hit New Folder, and we're going to call this, whatever you want, and hit Create. And then inside this folder, we're going to create another new folder, and we're going to call this, let's see, Regular. Hit Create, and then we're going to call these files, each individual image, once again, whatever, and then press Save. And then we're going to save the multipass image, which is going to be the depth of field. Make sure we change the format from Photoshop to PNG. And inside the regular folder here, we're going to create another folder, call this DOF, hit Create, and we'll call this DOF as well, and just press Save. And basically that's going to be our render settings. And this would be our animation right here. And our depth of field is set up. We've set up our multipass, and we are good to go. So make sure we change the frame range from current frame to all frames, so it renders out all from 0 to 250, and I think everything's good to go. So once you're satisfied, you can go ahead and press this Render to Picture Viewer, and it's going to go ahead and render out our first frame. And once this gets done, I'll take you into the depth of field pass and explain a little bit more about that and how it works in After Effects. So real quickly, our first frame is done. So let me go ahead and minimize this real quick and go into the folder here, go to Regular, and go into the DOF. And here's the DOF. This is the pass, and you can see what is in white here represents what's going to be most in focus. So all this is going to be in focus. As it fades off into these lighter and darker grays, eventually into black, this represents what's going to be out of focus. And that's how depth of field works when you set up a multipass. When we take this into After Effects, there's a plugin we're going to use called Frishu Lift. I think that's how you pronounce it, not sure. But nevertheless, that's how it reads this. So basically, this is like a gradient map, of course, and that plugin says whatever's brightest white needs to be in focus, and whatever is a darker gray and black needs to be out of focus. And this allows us to do fairly accurate depth of field in post, as well as with this plugin we're going to be using, allows us to actually go ahead and change the focal point on the fly. So we can still adjust the actual focal point of the render, but we do need to have a map set up regardless in order to even have that depth of field in the first place. And so that's basically what DOF pass does. And as you can see here, this would be for the fourth frame. We can see what's in focus on this one as well. So anyways, that's how it works. Alright, so just so this is a little bit quicker, I don't want to wait for that to render out. I'm going to be using my original render, and I'm going to be using that to work around in Adobe After Effects CS6. So let's go ahead and open that up. And there's two ways of adding depth of field to this render in post. There's a free way, and then there's a paid way. So I'm going to be showing both methods because I know not everybody wants to pay for a plugin in order to do this. So first things first, let's go ahead and go to File, Import, go to File, and let's import our renders. So in this case, it's in the render folder. It's in the here regular image, and then we're just going to click on regular 000, and which is our first frame, and hit open. It's going to open up as a PNG sequence. We're going to click and drag that into a new composition, and then we can briefly preview through our render here. Then we're going to go to File, Import, File, and we're going to import our DOF pass. So do the same thing, open up the very first one, and press open, and then we're going to click and drag and set this above our regular images, and just make this not visible. Make the depth of field, the depth pass, not visible. And so at this point in time, we can go to the click on the regular images layer and go to Effect, Blur and Sharpen, and then go to Camera Lens Blur. And what we're going to do now is, you can already see our depth of field in there, is we're basically going to change the layer from none to depth of field. And already there we can see what's going to be in focus and what's out of focus. We can adjust the blur radius, which if we increase that value, it's actually going to really increase the blur, which I don't have to go too high on that. And we can also change the blur focal distance. So if we adjust that, this is going to directly affect what's going to be in focus and what's going to be out of focus. So we kind of have control over that. And sometimes we get this slight black border around here. You might be able to notice that. It's very subtle, but it is noticeable. So if you want to fix that, all we have to do is go to Repeat Edge Pixels, and that'll take care of that issue. And then you can just play around with the blur focal distance and get this the way you want it. So you can see this is in focus over here, and then it kind of fades off and is out of focus over this direction. So that's not looking too bad there. And that's our depth of field. That's the free way. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the paid way, which is using a plugin called FrishyLift. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. FrishyLift, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, we're going to go ahead and drag that in there. I'm going to select FL depth of field and drag that right onto our regular images there. And we're going to change the depth layer from none to depth of field. And what we can do now is we can play around with the radius of the blur. So you can already see it take and hold there. And then we can also adjust the focal point. So if we select that, we can actually, let's see, we can click, not that, select this little target icon there, and we can actually select where we want it to focus on. We can click and drag and move that over here, and then it's going to be focused on that specific spot. So that's the nice thing about this plugin, is you have a lot more control over the exact focal point, and you can pretty much update this on the fly. So we can drag that over, and now this is in focus. And a lot of the time, when there's movement like this, you're going to want to keyframe the focal point. So say right there, it's on that specific spot, and you want something to remain in focus. You know, you can go around here and then drag this over just like that, and now the E's in focus. And since we have auto keyframing turned on, the focal point is going to change from between that point and the other point. And actually, if I turn this down to quarter, be able to see it better, because it does play back a little bit choppy. So that's basically our depth of field. Really cool. Depth of field adds a lot to renders. So so there you guys go. That's our depth of field, and really all I did after this was go to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and then go to Effect, Red Giant Color Suite, and go to Mojo, and just this is what I used to color correct it. So I just played around with these values here and got something I was satisfied with. And then I went into, used another plugin and went up, selected a regular images there, sequence, PNG sequence, and went to this Real Smart Motion Blur and added that in there. So I just had some sudden motion blur with these blocks. So it looks a little bit more realistic, and I played around with the blur amount and the motion sensitivity. That all comes down to personal preferences. just like most everything when it comes to motion graphics. But so we color corrected it, added some depth of field, added some motion blur, and that was pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much all I did for that animation. You could additionally go in here and add sound, of course, and do whatever you want. But other than that, that's how I made that video. But that'll do it for this tutorial. I think I covered everything. If you guys liked it, if you made it this far, please give it a like. This was really a lot of work to do this, and I've had to do this tutorial over several times. There's a lot to cover. Hope you guys that stuck around learned a lot. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave that down below. And once again, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please leave a like. That really helps me out and shows your support, and I really appreciate that. So thanks again, and thanks for watching, and I will see you guys soon in another tutorial. Peace out.